Perfect. I will take 2 seconds to introduce myself. Thank you everybody for joining. My name is Gina Covarrubias. I'm an engineering life coach. Samantha, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Samantha Simpson. I am a Bowspring posture and yoga coach.
So thank you everybody who's joining us from Facebook and on Zoom today. We have a great presentation. We're both super excited to be here because both Samantha and I are very big advocates of mental wellness and physical wellness. So we're going to talk to you today about both physical and mental habits you can create for yourself to manage chronic pain. So moving forward, I'm going to talk to you about the mental aspect, and I'm going to teach you some mental wellness tools today. And what you're going to get out of my presentation is how to be more self-aware and how to understand how to direct your brain instead of just believing everything your brain throws at you. This is my outline for today. I'm going to give you a quick background about me and about what life coaching is. I'm going to teach you about a concept called your life curriculum. We're going to talk about pain and the fact that it could be physical or emotional. And I'm going to teach you a really cool self-awareness tool called the STEER Energetic Framework. And we'll wrap it up with a great conclusion. About me, I studied engineering. I was an engineer for many years. And I had some really severe health issues about 10 years ago. And nobody could figure me out. I was this big mystery. I was in a lot of pain. I was on disability for several months. So I understand what it's like to live with chronic pain for months and months at a time. It took me a few years to recover, and I got back into the working world. And I decided at some point that I felt like I had been given a second chance in life, and that I was capable of so much more than what they were allowing me to be at work. So I left. I walked away from my great career, and I reevaluated myself, and I did some self-reflecting, and one thing led to another, and my business, which is called Deliberate Doing, was born. And the whole reason I created my business was to help people avoid the same situation that I found myself in my professional life. I blamed my career for all the stress in my world, and that is what promoted my health to just go down the toilet. So essentially, on a very high level, I, as a life coach, help people resolve their emotional issues. This is a quick introduction to how life coaching works. So we as humans experience our surroundings, our world, in two different ways. Number one, sensations, which can start in the body or on the surface of the body. And those sensations travel up to the brain, and the brain processes them. The other way we experience the world around us is by our thoughts and our beliefs. So those thoughts and beliefs start in the brain, and then they travel through your body in the form of energy or emotions. So energy or emotions are simply a physiological arrangement of all the things going on inside of you. That's what energy or emotions are. And the takeaway from this intro to life coaching is that it is our human privilege, because we have a prefrontal cortex brain, unlike animals. It is our privilege to choose our own beliefs and the way we respond to the world around us. Let's move on to talking about this idea called your life curriculum. So for a moment, you can ignore the slide, and if you want, close your eyes and think of yourself sitting in the classroom, and it's the first day of class. And usually what the teacher or the professor hands out is what? It's a course outline or a syllabus. And this syllabus has everything outlined for the semester that you're going to learn, and it gives you due dates, and it talks to you about the exams and the homework. And so everybody has this same curriculum that they have to abide by. Similarly, in your life, you have been given your own life curriculum, and your curriculum looks different from everybody else's around you. And our challenge, your challenge and my challenge, all of us humans have the challenge here to manage our life curriculum, to manage what has been handed to us. So you can think of your life curriculum as the cards you've been dealt in life, okay? And yours is different from everybody else's. And it's very easy for some of us to think, man, that person has an easier life than I do. I wish my life was like that person's. Okay, so what I'm here to tell you is that everybody has their own curriculum, and with that curriculum comes its own challenges and bumps in the road. This table gives some examples of what your life curriculum may look like for you. So the people in our lives, that's part of our life curriculum. The words people say and the actions people take, that's part of our curriculum. If we get a diagnosis, if we read the news, if we have a job interview, if we go to work every day, everything in your past is part of your curriculum. People die, people are born. These are all externals that you don't have control over. That's what your life curriculum is. These are things you've been handed in life to manage that you don't have control over. Now, managing our life curriculum can get really tricky sometimes because number one, what often happens is we start generating negative self-talk. And it leads to number two, we start believing that this head trash is actually true and that it's a fact. And number three, we start living our life based on this self-talk that we think is factual. And I've listed a couple of very common dramatic beliefs that I've heard people say lately. Number one, my future's been ruined. I've heard a few people say this in the context of they were either laid off or they did not get the job offer they expected because of COVID. So what they do is they dwell and they say, oh my gosh, this is terrible. How am I ever going to find another job? It's going to take forever. Nobody's hiring, and on and on and on. And they believe these are facts. The second example, the world is so unstable. So we've had a lot of that going on right now with the elections and with COVID. And some people think we're living in doom and gloom right now. And they think that it's just a fact, like they're reporting the news. Third example, this wasn't supposed to happen. This was not my life plan. I wanted to avoid these things, and that's why I worked so hard to try to get where I am. This wasn't supposed to happen to me. Okay, so when we feed ourselves these beliefs, which I call narrative or head trash, okay, we are reinforcing this cycle. And the more we think these things, okay, the stronger the neural pathway is in our brain. That means it's harder to change that belief. So when we feed ourselves this kind of head trash, we lie. We're lying to ourselves and we believe our own lies, but we don't always see it because we've not been taught how to look for that. And the result is that we cause ourselves unnecessary emotional pain. So let's talk about pain. Let's talk about emotional pain first. What I've written here at the top is that thoughts and beliefs create our emotions or our energy. So I mentioned that a few moments ago. Now we can compound our physical pain by adding emotional pain. So these are two different things. And you might ask yourself, why would I want to add emotional pain to my physical pain, which sucks already? Well, number one, we don't always realize we're doing it. We're not in tune with our brain. Our body and mind are out of sync. So we don't always know we're doing it. Most of us are not taught how to manage our emotions. Most of us are not taught the purpose of our emotions. And I'll get to that here in a couple slides. But what I want you to take away from this slide is that your emotions or your energy is generated by your thinking. It comes from what's going on up here. All of us have thoughts. All of us have thoughts about pain. It's critical to understand what is it you're thinking. What is it you're choosing to believe? Remember, it's your human privilege to choose what you want to believe. Oftentimes we resist the pain. And what I want you to understand is that resistance really compounds your physical pain. Resisting your pain and wishing things were different and hoping things change, that's like taking this beach ball, holding it underneath the water as long as you can. You'll be able to do it for some time, but it's an exhausting way to live your life. Let's talk about physical pain now. So physical pain is developed and managed by your central nervous system. And that's what I've got a picture here of, is your central nervous system, your spinal cord and your brain. And what I want you to know is that stress, especially chronic stress, leads to overstimulation of your central nervous system. And when you're already in pain, we don't want to do that. We don't want to stimulate or overstimulate your central nervous system anymore, because it leads to excess cortisol. And as you can see here, excess cortisol will raise your blood sugar, it'll suppress your immune system, it'll promote inflammation. And that's exactly what we don't want to do. I've got a great link here to this article I found, which is fascinating. I recommend you check it out. And I took this quote from this article here. When physical injury connects with a persistent stream of negative stimuli, like gloom and doom thoughts, like fear, anxiety, toxic emotions, your nervous system becomes highly reactive. And that is not what we want to have happen when we're already experiencing emotional pain. We want to de-stress as much as possible. This section is going to teach you about what I call the STEER, emotional or energetic framework. And this is a great self-awareness tool that you can use anytime for yourself. And if you look at this picture explains basic cognitive science. Thoughts create our feelings, feelings create our behavior, and then our behaviors reinforce our thoughts. So this energetic framework that I'm showing you takes this picture to the next level. So if we start with the S, S means situations. And I already talked to you about situations. Situations are all the externals outside of you, outside of your control, included in your life curriculum. So those externals lead our brains to think thoughts. And so what our brain does is our brain interprets all of our externals around us. And it'll tell you, this is good, this is bad, stay away from this, you're gonna die if you do that. Okay, that's our brain's job. Our thoughts generate energy or emotions inside of us. E is energy, and then the A is the actions. So we behave and we take action based on the kind of energy or emotions that we're feeling. And if you take all of your actions and behaviors and you put them in a bucket, that creates your reality in your life. So the big takeaway from this energetic framework is that your thoughts and your beliefs propagate your reality in life. And what I'm going to do in the next 2 slides is walk you through a demonstration and show you how this works in your life. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the same situation, and I'm going to show you 2 potentially different thoughts or beliefs you could have about this particular situation. And you'll see how different the result is. The situation is that you're experiencing physical pain. One thought you could potentially have about this, and this used to be me years ago, you could think to yourself, I hate this, and this isn't fair, and other people don't have to go through this, and I wish this would just go away, and why do bad things happen to good people, and on and on and on. Okay, that could be a belief that you choose. Most likely, the energy it's going to give you is anger, possibly pity, possibly resentment, and other negatives. From that energy, because of your beliefs, some actions you might take, you're going to resist the pain. You're going to wish it away. Maybe you'll lash out at other people in your life because you're very unhappy. Maybe you'll withdraw from other people. Maybe you'll obsess about your pain because you can't figure out how to fix it. Maybe you'll complain or over-medicate, or maybe you'll focus in like a laser on that pain. So those are some examples of actions you may take as a result of this kind of energy. And what that does, the reality is that you are being very unfair to yourself. So your thought, which is, I hate this, it's not fair, blah, 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 leads to the reality that you are treating yourself with hate and unfairness. So this is really important to know because, once again, our reality starts with our thinking. The takeaway from this slide is that your energy, it does not come from the physical pain. Rather, it comes from the way you choose to think about your pain. Let's look at the same situation now on the next slide. And I'm going to offer a different thought to you, a different belief. You could think to yourself, this is my human experience today. This is what I'm experiencing right now in my life. This is what it feels like when my brain is working and processing all the chemical reactions that are going on. This is what it feels like to be me today. Okay, those are some thoughts and beliefs you could choose to have instead of, I hate this, I want it to go away, it's not fair. From the thought of, this is my human experience today, the kind of energy it may generate for you could be acceptance and open-mindedness, and maybe even feeling neutral emotionally. The kind of actions you may take from this kind of energy could be that you remain in the present and you accept yourself for who you are. You'll probably stop wishfully thinking. You may even concentrate on your breathing and try to figure out how you could work with the pain in your life instead of resisting it. The reality here that you're creating by this belief is that your body and mind are working together. They're not fighting each other. There's no dissonance there. And you're not resisting. You're not trying to hold that beach ball under the water anymore. So what I want you to take away from this is that your thoughts will generate energy inside of you independent of the situation that's going on. So by all means, I'm not suggesting that based on the way you think, it will take away your physical pain. So that's not what I'm saying, because those are two separate things. What I'm saying is the way you think generates your emotions, and emotional pain can compound your physical pain. So let's wrap up with my conclusion. What I've taught you today. Number one, you have been given a life curriculum. Learn to accept it and learn how to manage what's been given to you. Number two, emotional pain, which comes from your thinking, can compound your physical pain. Number three, I taught you a great self-awareness tool called the Steer Energetic Framework. You can use it at any time. Fill in either a thought or a feeling. Start with that, and then you can fill in the rest of the lines from there. My big conclusion I want you to walk away with today is that you cannot control your life curriculum. You can't control what's been given to you, but you always have the ability to control the way you want to think about it. And last, before we get to Samantha, I want to leave you with this wonderful quote that is very, very helpful. It sounds very basic, but it is so powerful. Do not believe everything you think. If you can, try to get in the habit of being very deliberate about your thoughts and your thinking and what you choose to believe. Direct your brain, don't let it direct you. Having said that, I want to say thank you so much for taking this time on a Friday afternoon to join Samantha and I. I have self-help videos on my website. I have a career blog, deliberatedoing.com. I also have an events page. I always give free webinars, so visit my events page every now and then to see what's coming up. And if you're interested in free coaching, if you're interested in talking to me about your beliefs and how they might be creating your reality in your life, then let me know and we'll do some free coaching. I'm happy to do that. Having said that, what I want you to do now is to prep yourself for Samantha Simpson. She is now going to talk to you about physical habits that you can incorporate in your life to help manage chronic pain.
All right, thank you so much, Gina. All righty here, make sure everybody can see this. All right, raise your hand if you currently experience some sort of physical pain. And you can raise it up in the chat or put a little hand emoji, or if you don't want to raise your hand, that's fine too. Okay. And let's see, we got some hands raised. Probably if you're watching this, you are raising your hand, or maybe you know somebody who has chronic pain. Okay, raise your hand if you experience chronic pain, but you're hesitant about resorting to maybe some addictive medications or serious surgeries. Well, maybe you're already in the boat where you've had a surgery before and you're still finding yourself recovering from that surgery. Maybe it's been years. Well, I would like to invite you to keep an open mind here and listen along and type any questions in that you have for me as we go along. Next slide, please, Gina. I am Samantha Simpson. Like I already introduced myself, I am a posture and yoga coach. I teach people a radical and revolutionary new alignment technology called Bowspring. And in Bowspring, I teach people how to hold themselves in a new posture and move about in their daily lives so that they can have less pain, and it eliminates pain from a lifetime of chronic compression and mindless alignment. So I am so thankful for Gina for conceptualizing this event, and I am grateful for you for being open-minded enough to want to delve into something that is maybe a little bit off of the beaten path from what most people are used to when it comes to pain management. I'm going to talk about 3 things today that you are going to learn that may be keeping your body in chronic pain. And I'm also going to share with you 3 ways that you can relieve that. Next slide, please. The environment we live in today is especially challenging, especially post 2020 COVID-19. We are finding ourselves in an environment where we're working from home. I don't know how many people I've talked to this last year have called me up and told me that their pain has been increased, and I asked them where they're working. They're like, well, I'm working on the couch. So getting yourself in a position, comfy couches, an arched position. And you'll see in this visual, I've got a person looking at technology and his spine is curved forward. Technology and the world that we live in this day and age puts us in a position where we don't have opportunity to open up the spine. Instead, it's compression. And we are being inundated with ads and marketing towards junk food. And although it may feel comforting in the beginning, it leads to inflammation, weight gain, gut pain. And as a result of that, we go to a doctor who prescribes us medication. And sometimes the medication has its own side effects. And then we get prescribed another medication to take care of that side effect. So it becomes an endless cycle. Also, we're dealing with a lot of isolation. We're separated from people, the people we love, and that causes depression. And depression is painful. If you've ever experienced that before, you know that. So the reason why I feel so compelled to share this with you is because when I discovered Bowspring alignment, I felt relief of a chronic pain instantly. So the very same day. And that is how I knew that this was truth. It is revolutionary, radical, and it works. So that is why it is my mission to share this with people. You may be able to avoid a surgery. You may be able to avoid medication if you employ this methodology. And when you are feeling better, when you are out of pain, you're going to be able to serve your community better. You're going to be a better family member. You're going to be a better spouse. You're going to be a better friend. And you're going to be able to reach those dreams that maybe you thought you couldn't do anymore. So we'll take a little activity right here. You can type it in the chat, write it on the wall, or if you don't want to share publicly, you can write it on a piece of paper. So I want you to share, what areas of your body do you feel chronic pain? So a lot of times I hear it's hip pain, knee pain, feet pain. I get a lot of neck and shoulder pain, people telling me about. And probably the most of all is that low back pain. So many surgeries today because of that low back pain. And I'll see. I'll write a few. Write that to yourself or publicly in the chat. And now we'll move on. So now I want you to write down 3 things that might be possible if you didn't have the pain in your life. And I really want you to think big here. A lot of times if we're in a pain point for so long, our dreams get so small. I want you to imagine what could happen in the best case scenario. So maybe you go on that vacation that you've never been on before. Maybe you find love and confidence. Maybe you have the confidence to start a new career or a business. Or maybe you get in the best shape of your life. All right, next slide, please. So you may think I've got it all easy. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm thin. I look healthy, but things were not always this way. There was a time 5 years ago when my life was not going good at all. I had no career. I had no money, and my body was a mess. I had a chronic low back pain, and I had such a severe form of IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, that I couldn't go to the bathroom unless I took some kind of laxative for 2 years. So this was not a good place to be. It was the worst time of my life. And what's more, I really didn't feel like exercising. I was in so much pain, and exercise actually made my symptoms worse. And even yoga, which I had beloved since a very young age, I could feel was hurting me. It was making things worse. And what's more, I was especially experiencing mental pain. I didn't feel good physically, and I was sad. And as a result of that, I was giving medications for depression. Well, if I felt better physically, I wouldn't have been so sad. And I was not anywhere where I believed that I could be a leader. Actually, the thought of being a leader was not even in my radar. It was something that did not appeal to me at all. Everything has changed. In the past 4 years since I've discovered Bowspring alignment, my life has progressed more than in the previous 20 years. I'm in a place where I have 0 back pain, and that happened almost immediately. The chronic issue with IBS is gone. And I can do any activity or any exercise with strength and energy. I'm in the best shape and strength I have in my whole life, and my mental health is great as well. I have become a leader in the community, sharing people this formula that helps them heal. I see people changing their bodies, getting out of pain, and having other kinds of amazing life changes. And that is exactly why I am sharing this with you today. Next slide, please. So the number one issue that I see that is bringing people into pain, well, I shouldn't say it's the number one. There's plenty of issues I'm going to share with you 3 today. And the first one is the tail tuck. So you can see in this image, the person is tucking their tailbone under, so the pelvis is tucked posteriorly. And in a squatting position, that's easy to do. But what happens is we're sitting in chairs all the time, and the chairs are actually made to scoop us in that tucked tail position. And the reason why they do that is it's comfortable that way. It feels good. It's calming. Car seats are made this way. Airline seats are made this way. Dental chairs at the dentist are made this way. And we get so used to it that people start living their whole lives there. They start walking around like this. Some people actually keep their tailbone tucked when they are standing. and they do it when they're squatting. They do it all the time. The problem with this is it puts tremendous pressure on the lumbar disc. So the lower back disc get compressed. It hinders your ability to eliminate. So passing stool gets hindered, and it cuts off blood flow, and it creates an imbalance in the muscles of the pelvic floor. So you do not want to have a pelvic floor problem. It is something that will mess with your ability to perform sexually and your continence issues. So having a leaky bladder or even stool continence, something that we really don't want to go there. What can you do instead? So we're going to try this right now. You're probably sitting down, sitting in a chair. A flat, hard chair is usually better for this. So wherever you're at right now, I want you to pull your butt out from underneath you, really get a hold of the flesh. Actually, I'm going to show you this. Okay, I'm going to show you this. Let's see, a little impromptu. Why not? All right. So from the side, so this is a tail tucked position, and you'll notice my head went forward as I did that. So instead, really take your buttocks flesh, pull it out, and pull it behind you. Now you're sitting on your leg bones instead of your tailbone. And what did you see happen to the rest of my body? It got taller and it got longer. All right. My rib cage is able to breathe better in this position, and it's a more alert position. There's an inward curve now in the lumbar spine. So this is one thing that you can do on a daily basis. When you're at work, when you're at home, start practicing sitting in this position with the tailbone lifted. Keep your tail a wagging. Now, you may want to start practicing this when you're standing as well, but in the beginning, it's going to be tiring, especially if you haven't done it for a long time and your body's not used to it. So take care with that. This is going to open up the gut, allow you better and easier elimination, help your pelvic floor, and really increase your health in so many ways. And the next slide, please. Okay, another thing that may be keeping you in pain is a forward head position. And this comes from our lifestyle, again, of looking at the phone all the time. You've heard of texting neck before. A lot of these unfortunate kids are getting stuck with that head down position and head forward. Your head weighs a lot. And when it's in that forward position all the time, you're putting so much strain on your neck and shoulders. And you may not even know that you're doing it. So it may be just a subtle forward head position, but it's still wreaking havoc on your spine, your upper spine, your neck, and your jaw if you've got TMJ. So what you can do is raise your electronics. Right now, I've got my computer on a little stool with a bunch of books under it so that I have this at eye level. When I'm texting, I try to be conscious and text like this. It kind of looks like you're taking a selfie, but you're being mindful of your body. And whenever you're walking along, like you're at the mall, you're walking in the park, keep your eyes at the horizon, your upper teeth at the level of the horizon. All right, you're gonna notice a lot of new and different opportunities at the horizon. I know, because I spent the first 37 years of my life looking at the floor, looking at the ground wherever I went, and the world is a much more beautiful place when I have my head up. This is one thing that just gives me goosebumps when I talk about it, because I've had clients whose their life has also been changed by the simple adjustment of the horizon eyes. I know that it changed my life. The bonus of the horizon eyes head up position is that people will treat you differently. You will walk into a room and people will look up to you. They'll adjust their posture to meet yours. And this has an effect on your own confidence. You start to believe in yourself. And this is something that changed my life and enabled me to do the things that I've done since. Next slide, please. Mindlessness of hands and feet. This one's a little bit more complicated. So our hands and feet are truly the furthest away from our brain. So the motor neurons, that's what you can do to tell yourself to move, are the longest. The motor neurons are the longest at the tips of your fingers and your toes. So that's the furthest away from your brain. So we become so mindless of what we're doing with our hands and feet. For years, I had sore hands all the time. But I wasn't being mindful of what I was doing with them. So a lot of people get arthritis, the pain that usually starts in the thumb area or in the fingers. So what I was doing was I was mindlessly holding and gripping everything. It became like a tension habit to hold things and squeeze things really tight. Even the way I held a pencil caused me a lot of pain. And the same thing with the feet as well. So the toes would lift up and pull back. And that's actually a reflex response to fear. The pulling back of the fingers, pulling back of the toes. What we don't know is if we are constantly in a state of fight or flight, we're constantly pulling back our fingers and our toes. And that creates an imbalance in the whole body, all the way up the arm, the shoulders, the neck, and then with the legs, it goes all the way up the leg, the knees, the hips. You're developing imbalances everywhere, which could lead to carpal tunnel, arthritis, bunions, plantar fasciitis. So what can you do instead? Well, it's like I said, this one is pretty complicated in the Bowspring alignment, but what I can tell you if you're just watching here today is to be more mindful of what your hands and your fingers are doing. When you're holding the steering wheel, is it a death grip? Instead, can you squeeze your palms? When you squeeze your palms, you recruit more muscles from the whole arm. You're using more of your bigger muscles, and then create soft, springy fingers that are curled, all right? So it could be quite a mind trick, especially if you're not used to it. If you're used to doing all of the work with your fingers, which aren't very big, it's gonna take a lot of practice to transfer the work to stronger, larger muscles, all right? About the feet, so repatterning the foot. We're going to start to work it into massaging. So we're gonna massage it so that the toes go down, and we're gonna massage the foot and laterally, so squeezing it laterally. So we develop a transverse arch, and I'm not gonna get a lot into that now. If you have questions about that, I will share with you about that. It's very detailed, but what you can do now is just be more mindful of what your fingers and toes are doing. Keep strong palms, strong soles, soft fingers, soft toes, all right? No more pulling back. We've done enough of that in our whole life. Let's keep them curled. Let's keep them soft and springy, all right? So by making these changes, people have found big differences in all the way up their arms, their legs, and their hips. Next slide, please. So after all this information that you've learned from Gina and from me, I want to ask you, is it acceptable to stay where you are? And no judgment here on your part or mine. When I was in my biggest pain state, I did seek answers from doctors. I went to tons of doctors. I was on tons of medication. Eventually I found that didn't work for me. If it works for you, that's great, that's fine. I had to go through that before I started seeking answers in a different way. So it's a process that is on a different timeline for everybody, but I want you to know that if you do it now or you do it 20 years from now, it is never too late. It is never too late. Next slide, please. Because if you do choose to make a choice to ask for help today, that the possibilities are endless. You can reach those dreams you never thought were possible. I love this picture here of grandma getting down on the ground and working with her grandkids. So many people tell me today that they just want to live long and be able to live the life that they're living, be able to play with their grandkids, play with their kids. I had a woman that I worked with, 82 years old. She told me, Samantha, I was able to get down and kneel at church for the first time in 7 years after learning this Bowspring. And that's amazing. It's never too late. to go after your dreams. Maybe it's a dream to go on that vacation, or to be confident enough to start dating, or maybe start your own business, or share your worth and joy with other people, help other people. Next slide, please. So the Bowspring is a system that works, and it works for everybody. It is a very detailed system, and it's got some things that are hard to wrap your brain around, but also some things that make a lot of sense. And when I work with people, I teach them the system that works. It works universally, and I provide for them support as a coach. So anytime they've got some problems, they're confused about something, or they're just lacking the motivation, I am there for them as a coach. And I love this picture here. It's one of my clients who, when we first beginning the process, she couldn't tilt her pelvis or mount her glutes upward while standing. So we had to work them in hands and knees positions. And now her body is totally different. It's changed in a deep way, a deep myofascial way. Her glutes can now mount upward. She told me that her center of gravity has changed. She no longer feels that she's falling forward anymore. And she's a very active woman. This is a full-time RN. She's going to school to be a nurse practitioner, and she feels like it's brought her more energy. And you can see the balancing effect of the Bowspring. If you look at the picture on the far right, her shoulders have balanced out. So Bowspring is balancing. It helps people find a balance in their left and right, and their forward and back. And that's why it's so healing, and that's why it works. So I've had everybody who I work with has a different level of success, whether they want to get off the couch more, whether they want to have more confidence, whether they want to lose the low back pain. I've seen people, I have worked with a client who was in such intense knee pain that he couldn't walk around the block. He couldn't walk around the block. And this guy was formerly an ultra marathoner. After teaching him the Bowspring alignment, he messaged me a few months later, told me that he ran his personal best in an ultra marathon. That's like a 100-mile race. And it's just amazing what this does for people. So what I wanted to offer you today, if you're watching live right now, or if you're watching this later on, I wanted to offer everybody a free pain body posture analysis Zoom with me. So in this, I'm going to learn more about you and what's going on. I'm going to give you feedback in the 3 areas that we talked about today: the pelvis, the head, and the hands and feet. And then we'll discuss if it makes sense for us to work together. And this is just for the people who are watching this right now. And you have to ask for it. You have to reach out, send me an email, write it in the chat right now, or you can visit my website to set up in the next slide. I think I'll show you. Oh, we're going to do some questions and reactions, what's coming up for you right now. Next slide, please. So think about your questions, and also write down, these are ways to contact me. On Facebook, you can find, I have a Bowspring yoga community. I'm broadcasting live there right now. I give tips and about the Bowspring alignment system, and I make videos every week. I also have a ton of videos on YouTube. If you are in a lot of pain and you haven't been moving around a lot, I suggest looking for ones that say easy or beginner or chair. So I do have those beginner videos up there. Just search Samantha Simpson Yoga, subscribe. You can also check out my website at thesamanthasimpson.com. Don't forget the just samanthasimpson.com will bring you to a very lovely painter in New York. Okay, so put the in front. And if you want to schedule that strategy session with me to get the feedback, send me an email or just write in the chat that you want that right now. And if without further ado, we will go to questions or comments. Questions or comments for either one of us.
And as I stopped sharing my screen and as we pull up the chat box so we could look at all your questions and comments, I would like to say I have a personal testimonial because Samantha was my Bowspring instructor. We worked together last year for 6 months. Now, I came to her not because I was in pain, but I was interested in up-leveling my yoga routine. So I was already into traditional American yoga. Samantha opened up my world to a whole nother realm of yoga that I did not even know existed. And she was a fantastic instructor who helped me understand how to move my body in my day-to-day.